This is Joe Hendry and welcome to Inside the Fights, and today we're going to be talking about three things. We're going to be talking about the notion that McGregor vs Diaz 3 could be taking place on St. Patrick's Day 2018. Second of all, we're going to be talking about a very interesting altercation between Tony Ferguson and Fabricio Werdum, and finally we're going to be talking about Cody Garbrandt's desire to face Demetrious Johnson in a super fight. So let's get into the first topic for the day. Coach Kavanagh just spoke to address the rumours that the trilogy fight was going to take place on December 30th this year. He quickly dismissed those rumours and said that if it were up to him, whilst he has limited influence, the date that makes most sense is March 17th, 2018, which is St. Patrick's Day. He also had a very interesting quote about Nate Diaz as a matchup for Conor McGregor, and he said, and I quote, "I always think that if I was to develop a fighter and would give Conor his best or worst night, either way you look at it, I would come up with Nate Diaz." This is a very interesting quote because depending on how you look at it, it's saying that Nate is stylistically a bad matchup for Conor or a very good matchup depending on the circumstances or the way the matchup goes, adding to the intrigue of the whole spectacle. I'm hoping that over the coming months Coach Kavanagh will elaborate further on exactly what he means by this mysterious quote. Now it's time to talk about the interesting altercation that took place between Tony Ferguson, who's a lightweight, and Fabricio Werdum, who is a heavyweight. Because we know with Werdum that no one is safe, not the heavyweights, not Coach Edmund, and apparently now not Tony Ferguson, who is the contender to the interim lightweight UFC title. It's all getting rather confusing with these interim titles, but we know that Tony Ferguson is at the peak of his career and he's now got this newfound confidence in his strike. He's so confident, in fact, that he is willing to square up to a heavyweight in the UFC, so kudos for doing so. But this is how it all kicked off. Tony Ferguson said in a jovial manner that it wouldn't mind who he was facing. It could even be a Fabricio Werdum, assumingly saying it because he was right there. But then things kicked off to the next level when he corrected Werdum for talking over him and told him not to do it in a rather confrontational and disrespectful manner. At this point, both guys started going back and forward in various languages, which made it very difficult to follow, but both needed to be separated before things kicked off. Despite the weight difference being so big that not even the UFC video game will allow you to have this mismatch, it was still fun to see Tony Ferguson escalate his confrontational personality to the next level. Oh, and also in the same day, he called Kevin Lee his bitch on a media call. And finally, let's talk about the fact that Cody Garbrandt is now keen to face Demetrious Johnson in a super fight if he can get past TJ Dillashaw. Team Alpha Male head coach Justin Buchholz believes that Cody can make 125 pounds and make the super fight happen, and Johnson has also retorted that he would be open to fighting Garbrandt at either 125 or 135 pounds. Now, as you may know, Demetrious Johnson is currently tied with Anderson Silva for the record for most consecutive UFC title defenses, and he was all set to go on and try to beat Anderson Silva's record when he was going to face off against Ray Borg. But now that that fight has been cancelled, he's been left in this place where he's still tied for the record, and one has to assume that number one priority has to be breaking that record. So I think we can say that his next fight is going to be at 125, defending the title. Johnson is in need of a big fight to get into the next level of recognition received by other UFC stars, which should surely work for the UFC given the lack of star power following the departure of Rousey, the absence of Conor, and the suspension of John Jones, and perhaps a fight with either Cody Garbrandt or TJ Dillashaw, depending on the outcome of their upcoming bout in New York on November 4th at UFC 217, and a bout with one of these two could be the catalyst for Johnson finally receiving the recognition that he deserves. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Joe Hendry and this is Inside the Fights. Please like and share, but most importantly, if you do one thing for me, just click that subscribe button, because the more of you that we have subscribing, the more great content that we can put out. Also, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Inside the Fights, and also at Inside the Fights on Instagram as well. Thanks again for watching, and I shall see you next time.